Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another episode of Harvesting Wisdom podcast. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. Today with me is Oscar Rodriguez. You all out there throw your food away? Oscar transforms it. Today, my guest is flipping the script on food waste. He shows how garbage can fund the future. So stick with us here, because if you eat food, you need to hear this. Okay, Oscar, let's walk through how you got started in this business and why it matters to you.
Of course. Thanks, Mike, for having me on. My journey started about 14, 15 years ago with your traditional commodity trading, food waste diversion, not typically with your human waste, food waste diversion, but mostly with your grains, your wheat, your corn, your cottonseed. So when I got into the business, we were utilizing that type of material that's not good for human consumption anymore, and we were turning it into animal feed. So we were recycling, further processing, and then turning it into animal feed. Slowly, we got the idea of, well, if we're doing this with grain, corn, wheat, there's got to be other types of food waste that's out there that's not being processed. So we started doing a little research and seeing what was happening to the food waste that's being produced out there. You got your restaurants, you got your producers, your manufacturers, your big ticket companies out there. And so we were looking to see what was happening to this waste. And we realized that it was all going to landfill here in Arizona. There was really no program to do any kind of food waste diversion. Again, it was all going to landfill. There was no one really establishing anything with recycling, with food waste. So then that's kind of what kind of clicked on my end of it. Was we saw that there was a need. We saw that there was no solution. We saw that people wanted to do the right thing. They just didn't quite know how. And so that's kind of how we kind of got the ball rolling, got started into this food waste diversion.
You worked for a very large company and they were located regionally here in Arizona, and then you expanded, I think, to California as well, right?
Well, the company started in California, so it was a California-based company. It was strictly a commodity trading company. We did a lot of the used cooking oil recycling, it's the corn, wheat, and then they expanded the operation here in Arizona. So they established a little bit footprint out there in California, Southern California, and then the idea came, well, what's happening in Arizona? Are we doing anything in Arizona? What's going on? So then I came out here, started doing a lot of the market research. To see what was going on, and we started a lot of the programs here in Arizona. So Southwest was our region that we focused on. We were I'm going to call it a mom and pop company, but we had about 350 employees.
Yeah, two mom and pop.
Yeah, two mom and pop companies.
So the idea here is that you were early on. You were like the pioneer, really. They put you in charge here in Arizona of figuring out the food waste part of it, right? You guys weren't landfilling at the time yourself. You didn't have a landfill here or anything. You were literally coming and started with commodities, and then we're taking waste, and that waste, that food waste primarily, gets diverted in two directions. One, it can be composted, and the other, it can be used as animal feed. So explain exactly how that all took place.
Well, there was no program here in Arizona, so we came here, and I'd like to think that we were the pioneers. The company that was previously working for, they did have a small operation with food waste diversion into animal feed in California. So again, a lot of the crops that were being planted were going away. Cottonseed being one of them. A lot of the problem here in Arizona is water diversity, and so cottonseed is a big crop that takes a lot of water, 9 months to grow. And so each year there was about 30% less crops being grown here in Arizona. So it got to the point where there was going to be, well, we don't have a job next year. There's no crops going to be growing. So what are we going to do? And that's kind of when we started developing the food waste diversion program into the animal feed operation. Now in 2022, a big corporate company came and bought the local mom and pop company out. So that kind of opened up the doors for nationwide accounts and kind of opened up the doors for the compost facilities as well. So originally we were only doing animal feed operation.
Wow.
Now when this big corporation came and bought us out, acquisitioned us in 2022, that opened up the doors for compost facilities.
And you work for the new company as well, the big company.
Correct. Yeah.
You help them steer toward this this work. So, what percentage of food is wasted, and why is it important? I mean, what do we have in landfills?
You are going to be very surprised at this number, but about 40% of the food manufactured in the United States is wasted.
Oh,
it's either being thrown away to landfills or just not being eaten, quite frankly, just going to landfill.
Yeah, and when you're diverting this and you're using it to make either the compost or the and we'll get into the processes or into the food for animal feed, is there profit for that? That's a it's not something you're just getting grants for the government to do to make people happy, right?
No. At the end of the day, it is a business, and so we do have to be generating some sort of revenue, become profitable. No one's in the business to lose money.
Good.
At all. So yeah, we did. Our biggest competition at the time, because there was no programs established, was the landfill, quite frankly. So you got your landfill that's, charging $50 a ton, $45 a ton, whatever that number is. So we had to develop a program to come in here and be more cost effective, less expensive than the landfill, so we can convert a lot of these production companies over.
And you're selling animal feed to mostly dairies and feedlots and maybe the chicken lots as well, some commercial stuff, right? So they're taking this food and then they're blending it maybe with a meal of some sort.
Yeah. So once we're done with the production process, we're left with a product that's called bakery. It's a very dry, 12% high carbohydrates, very good, well nutritional for the dairies themselves. So once we deliver it to the dairies, they do what's called a ration. So it's a little bit of our product, a little bit of alfalfa, a little bit of corn, a little bit of hay, and they blend it all together.
Okay.
And so that's what's being fed to the dairies.
They pelletize that generally, or?
They don't. Most of it is done in bulk, big truckloads at a time, 24, 25 tons at a time. The people that want material to be pelletized are your smaller operations that don't have the capacity to be holding.
They're not moving it as fast.
Correct. Yeah, they're not moving it as fast, or they just don't have the place to store.
And this is a supplement, right? This is part of their feed. They also have other feed as well, but this is primarily your carbohydrate.
Yeah, this is just part of their feed. Like I said, they have a ration that's our product, corn, bakery. It's a very well nutrition balance, X amount of fiber, X amount of protein, X amount of moisture. And so that's what the well nutrition balance is what the dairy wants.
Okay. So let's talk about it. You get food from where? From homeowners, or primarily commercial producers, or both?
So when we started doing your homeowners, your small mom and pop restaurants, your chip makers, your bread makers, your tortillerias. They all produce some sort of waste, not a lot of volume, which is, a couple 100 pounds each time. But again, all of that was going to the landfill. And so when we first approached a lot of these businesses, is they were essentially throwing away, getting their trash picked up 5 times a week. I showed up and said, look, half of your waste is food waste. You can put it into my bin, and now your savings is going to be in your trash pickup. Now you're only going to get it picked up twice a week instead of 5 times a week. So that's how the savings came from the consumer part of it.
So how do you decide, though, if the waste should just be composted or the waste should be turned into animal fuel?
So that's a great question. So when it was the original company, IWP, we only mostly focused on dairy feedlots. So we were only targeting dry carbohydrates, your chips, dough, breads, tortillas, stuff that's very, very low in moisture. When Denali came on board, that kind of opened up the doors for a lot of opportunity. So for example, if I would get a call saying I got a truckload full of bread, that would go to the animal feed operation because it's very low moisture. less processing on that end of it, so very less cost effective. If I get a truckload full of fruits and vegetables, organics, that material would go over to the compost facility. Compost facility likes high moisture stuff, and it's easier to process on that end of it. So we had options, we had choices of where we were going to go.
So if you're a homeowner and you have, let's say, meat scraps are not considered desirable for the most part, right? So you're mostly composting what?
You're mostly going to be your coffee grounds, your fruits, your vegetables. You don't want to compost anything high in fat, like you mentioned, your raw meats, your raw chickens. You kind of want to keep away from all that stuff.
And that's because of pathogens or
pathogens, odors, rodents. So you start becoming more of a trash facility on that end of it instead of a compost facility.
I got it.
But yeah, those are the stuff that the compost facility likes. Again, it's high moisture, your fruits, your vegetables, your post-consumers.
Okay.
A lot of the high moisture stuff.
So there's also when people are basically separating their waste, and I'm just talking homeowner stuff because that's for a lot of people out there that's always that's the dilemma. It's like, what am I putting in or whatever. So you can podcast, you can compost, pretty much anything, newspaper, containers, a lot of different papers and things like that can go in with avocado, or they can go in with pizza crust, whatever people have at home. But that stuff doesn't turn into feed, right?
No, that stuff, your home applications would be turned into compost.
So for the most part, home, because you can't control that source.
Correct.
I sometimes have 2 bins at the house, and without paying attention, I throw I throw a bottle in there or plastic or whatever, and I'm, a little more diligent with it than typical. What do you see in the future for that? Do you see us as a society really separating? I know there's places I've been in the world where there's multiple different bins for different things, but here in the U.S., we're lucky to have a recycle can along with our regular garbage can. So how do you see that? How do we? It's somewhat it's cultural, right?
Well, yeah, it's cultural. Education has to be a big part of it, educating the youth and all the residential places. But a lot of it has to do with labor and actually separating the product from the contaminant. A lot of the bulk. Keep in mind that a lot of the dairy and feedlot operations that we sell is in bulk, so it's 25 tons at a time. So it's big products. Now your residential, it's not a lot of volume. It's going to be maybe 50, maybe 100 tons every couple of weeks. So logistically becomes a little more difficult.
So that becomes a compost. So what's the difference between turning food waste into animal feed, right? What's the difference process-wise between that and composting?
So to turn it into animal feed, you have to go through a process of grinders, strainers, shakers, dehydrators, to separate all the contaminants, to kill all the pathogens, because you are feeding animals at the end of the day.
Right.
So different rules and regulations do apply. And again, we have to guarantee that this material is what it is that we're selling.
So it's important to know your source. That's why the commercial source that might have potato chip manufacturer, the tortilla guy, that you're getting that material.
Correct. What we're getting. Now, as far as the process between animal feed operation and composting, it's very similar. Like I said, you both have screeners, grinders, shakers, separate the contaminants. The biggest one is going to be the dehydration process for the animal feed operation.
Okay.
Because again, it has to go through a 45-minute process at 180 degrees to make sure that we kill all the pathogens.
So that really is a form of composting, because we think of composting as something that breaks down a waste product, right? But in composting, we go through a thermophilic process, which is very similar to what you just said, but it's basically relying on the material to heat itself up, and it's microbial, and it takes a longer period of time. But when you're doing even chicken and you're turning chicken into pellets, the temperatures go up pretty high, 180, 200 degrees, and that's what you're doing also with food. The food that you're creating. So there is a a thermophilic element.
Yeah, it's a type of food waste diversion, composting, I guess you would say. You know, and on the EPA chart, the Environmental Protection Agency, the best thing to do is obviously make less food, make less waste, and then it'd be feed the homeless, and then after that would be animal feed operation. After that would be the composting side of it. So we're trying to do the best use
In that order.
in that order.
That's
Yeah.
great to say that. So
Yeah,
that's
so it's animal feed operation, composting, anaerobic digester, then landfill.
got it.
As far as the next best use for the material on our end of it.
Okay. So who can do this? I mean, you know, you're a commercial guy, right? And when I started, we were just commercial as well, and I was always afraid of the homeowner doing anything. What's your thought on that? I think the problem is we do have to get people involved, right? We have to. In my mind, our biggest issue is waste separation from the source, and if we can do that, we can really make it economically good for any particular place, because there's very little work to be done at that point. It's super easy to compost or make animal feed if your stock source is clean, right? So what's your thought?
So, anyone can really do this, from your homeowners to your big production facilities, on that end of it. We're going to be able to scale it to what the need is going to be. Your residential people, we do partner with some local companies through the Arizona Composting Council and other local initiatives that do support the residential programs. That do have a bucket that they can go in there and throw away their food scraps. Every couple of weeks they'll come by and pick it up and then take it to a facility like the City of Phoenix compost facility, and process it there. Now your big production facilities, your big manufacturers, those will go directly to the compost facility or directly to the manufacturer.
So really, you were very integrally involved with taking this program into Arizona, which really had no program at all. And how does Arizona rank with other states? Do you even have an idea on that?
Well, I have an idea. It's not very high up there amongst other states doing recyclables in setting up this kind of programs. There is initiatives. They did get started. The ball is rolling and going in the right direction. But there is other states out there that are a little more advanced than we are, and we're catching up. We're definitely catching up, trying to do the right thing. What I am seeing here in Arizona is that everyone is wanting to do the right thing, whether it's your local residential programs to your big manufacturers. There is no legislation or any kind of policy here in Arizona still that prevents or that makes any kind of production to ban from landfills. So that's the direction that we're trying to go as well with the Arizona Composting Council.
So for the most part, we have a trash bin, which we throw everything in, and then we have this recycle bin. It seems to me like a little bit of a complicated thing. I don't know what goes in the recycle bin. And the food waste, there is no bin for that, for a commercial setup, at least that I know of. I don't know if there's any neighborhoods that have a pilot program or anything like that.
There isn't, and again, the biggest issue, or the biggest reason why, the biggest challenge, I guess I would say, is logistics. It's having a truck to go out around and pick up your 5-gallon bins to every single residential location.
Right.
That seems to be the biggest cost-effective problem that we have when it comes to a residential program.
So when it really comes to food waste at home, you really have to either compost yourself, or you have to use, I guess there's different composter machines you could have at your home, or you could do it in your backyard or whatever. Then what do you do with that product?
So if my suggestion would be, if you're a residential, a lot of the composting you can do yourself, and it's very, very easy. There's different methods that you can do. You can build your own stations. There's tumblers that you can go out there and purchase. I have 2 little girls, a 4 and a 6-year-old, and I'm introducing them into the recycling world, and so we're picking up the composting and building bins on what goes what can go where. But it all starts with education. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of our youth want to do this. They just don't know how.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, the problem is not with the youth. It's with people my age or other older people, because we just don't understand the entire process. But it's it's good to see things starting to change in that direction. Because if we change how we treat our waste, we change pretty much everything, right?
Correct.
Some of it diverts to soil, and it improves soil for growing. It could grow your garden at home, or even put in with your landscape trees and plants, right? But then it's actually a good model, because it's a profitable model to help feed animals, right? I mean, and this is where it should go. So it's a program that we really want to see going on. And for homeowners, we still don't have the complete answer unless you compost on your own. There are machines out there that will dehydrate, and then there's another one that does composting if you don't have a yard or a backyard. But I guess the idea of this podcast is, for people to be able to take some of their material at home, their banana peel, their coffee grind, and think about where they can use it. Because what we're talking about is changing a system that's not completely working, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have a solution that is economical. So it actually it's a sustainable solution, which is really what we're looking for to replace that old system and that old model, right?
Yeah, Mike, one of the things that I'm, very proud of that we established here in 2022, 23 is we developed the food waste program for the city of Phoenix. So they had a small operation prior to that, and it was all mostly collecting green waste and post-consumer food waste, but a lot of it was depackaged by hand. So you have your local universities that, after any kind of ball game or, baseball game, they'll sit there and they'll collect all the food waste and then actually separate the food waste from the packaging by hand.
Right.
So one of the things that we established here at the city of Phoenix was a depackaging program. So you are able to accept a lot of this pre-consumer, post-consumer package palletized material that eliminates a lot of the manual labor part of it.
Primarily, though, for compost at that point.
Primarily for compost. The city of Phoenix has that machine mostly for the compost operation. Now, I did use similar machines for the animal feed operation as well. So you can put in the whole box, palletized box, cardboard, plastic, whatever the case may be, and you put it into this machine, does its magic, it separates it all out, and at the end of the day, at the end of the production line, you have a product that's 99.9% clean of all contaminants.
Oh, that's pretty good, yeah. So you're now with the Arizona Compost Council, right? And you've got, tell me a little about that for a second.
So the Arizona Composting Council is a new state chapter that we established here about a year ago. 12 months ago, we started it. There was nothing going on here in Arizona as far as any kind of commitment to like that. So we're all members of the United States Composting Council, and then we all came up with an idea of, hey, let's start a chapter here in Arizona. Typically, it takes 2 years to get it all established, and we were able to do it in 12 months.
It's all the important players, right? It's the big waste diversion landfill guys. It's you mentioned Denali, they're in it. It's my company, Soil Seed and Water. So it's pretty much the guys down in Tankersley, down in Tucson. It's pretty much everybody who's involved, and we're finally kind of working together and hopefully changing a little bit of policy, but we're doing it in a sustainable fashion.
Yeah, we saw that everybody in the game, essentially your big waste management companies, were everyone was doing their own thing. And so we wanted to come in and kind of group the whole group together with the Arizona Composting Council and make it easy for everybody to use our resources. So you have everybody in the industry wanting to do something, and so the Arizona Composting Council, again, one of the main reasons why we established it is because we wanted to provide resources to everybody in the community. Because again, everybody wanted to do something great, no one just knew how to do it.
So how do we engage the community? How do we have do you guys have a website? How do you take calls from homeowners that want to be involved?
So yeah, we do. We have a website that you guys can reach us at as ArizonaCompostingCouncil.org. We do have quarterly events as well throughout the state of Arizona. We have an event coming up in June 12th in Flagstaff, we'll be doing a compost demonstration with the NAU, as well as the local gardeners as well. So each quarter we try to go to a different part of Arizona. Tucson, Flagstaff, Yuma, Phoenix, just so we can engage everybody in the community.
So part of it is the awareness thing, and the other part is helping to change policy. But the idea of the policy is not to add a new tax or constraints on people. It's actually a policy that is meant to replace existing wasteful practices with things that are, more environmentally friendly, but economically sustainable as well, right?
Right. Yeah. One of the things that the council is going to be pushing here is water retention on our end of it. We know that here in the state of Arizona, water is very scarce. There's not a lot of that.
So that would
available.
be the compost end.
Yeah,
right?
the compost end. Yeah, exactly. So again, what we would like to do is see a lot of the local gardeners, a lot of the local municipalities start using a lot of more compost in their parks.
Yeah, that's
recreations.
great to start at that level, because governments are a big part of the landscape, and they're a big part of the waste process too. So starting there is great, but also with homeowners, the idea of helping us change some regulations. I think what we're talking about is a third bin in every home, or some kind of machine where people can take that waste diversion. What do you think?
Yeah, a third bin with strictly just your food waste. Now it's not, we're not quite there, but I do believe probably in the next 5 years there is going to be some sort of food waste ban into landfills.
And that's probably going to happen from the top down. What we're talking about is taking it from the bottom up, which is homeowners who also believe that this thing is something that can be done, right? It's not that big a deal for me to separate, if I know which foods I have, to separate them and to be able to put them out, maybe in a community bin on the street or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the things that how it would be started was like a community bin. In your neighborhood, you have a bin that you can go out and drop off your scraps.
Yeah.
That would be a great way to get started, as well as community gardens as well.
And now you are consulting for me, and you consult with different companies and how this stuff happens. So big challenge now for you is figuring out how you can improve the stuff that we're doing as well.
Well, I mean, like I said, we've been in the industry for the last 15 years, and so we'd like to think that we were people that have a lot of experience in this deal. So we are here to offer help to anybody that wants to go in the right direction.
Correct, which is great. So, well, I appreciate you coming on today. We've got a lot of exciting things, and it's a new direction for what I'm doing at Soil, Seed, and Water. And with the Arizona Compost Council, I think you guys are at least a body of people who want to make this sustainable change. And, I hope that we engage more and more homeowners so that we have this wave of people that are helping change our practices.
Yep.
So I appreciate you being here today, Oscar Rodriguez. Thanks again for joining in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.